Arvind Dattar's lecture I was listening. I am a huge admirer. From the days I used to listen to him to the days I brief him in many matters.
Aishwarya the lawyer and Aishwarya the person, how would you describe each?
Aishwarya is the person I will describe as a survivor. Coming from a small town and a first generational lawyer, I didn't even knew I'll end up here. I am an accidental lawyer, I would say. But that fine conversation one evening over a cup of chai ended me filing for the law entrance exam in Delhi University. So he used to tell me, you give me names of at least one client that you know you will have after going from here. I was thinking in my mind, I even didn't know whether I will sit for the final exams. He is worrying about clients. I am not worried. There were only 5 people in the office, including me. And I was also sitting on one of the shared chairs only. So the thought process, like I said, was always to build a brand. Whether we take home something or not, that is not important for me. Invested in an office, in a good space, invested in people and technology. We even have our own internal case management software. Maybe in a high court, maybe at a departmental level, maybe at a tribunal level. If you are not able to explain it easily and in a flawless manner, somewhere down the line, it means you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
Another point is people have misunderstood GST. Problem is not with GST actually.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Lawyer podcast. My name is Jenna Krishnan. I'm your host and the founder of the Daily Lawyer. And today we have someone from a field of law that I have never covered on the profession. We are going to be speaking on GST laws in the world of tax. Within the world of tax, we are going to be speaking on GST. We're going to be speaking with Mr. Aishwarya Sharma, who is a GST lawyer and he is the co-founder of RBL Law Corp, and we are in his beautiful office. Aishwarya, thank you so much for joining us on the Daily Lawyer podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Like I said, we've not touched the world of tax at all. Within the world of tax, the world of GST, and each of us are familiar with it to the extent that, it is touching every transaction that we make, whoever we are.
Yeah.
But we really don't understand much about it. We all try to be very far away from it, I think. The other thing we are going to get into, which is very impressive, it was very impressive for me, and one of the driving reasons why I wanted to spotlight this conversation is Aishwarya's journey. He's a first generation lawyer. He's from a small town. He's from Dehradun or Kashipur
Yes.
and in Uttarakhand. And from there, he's now established a thriving presence in the capital in Delhi NCR. And we want to get into that journey as well. He's running a multi-city boutique firm. How do you manage to do all of that? These are some of the things that even I want to know. So without more me talking anymore, let's get to the conversation. Thank you so much. I did speak a little bit about, you came from a small town and now you're in Delhi and so on. So, in your words, if you can take us back to the beginning, why did you get into the profession of law? And really from there to here, how has it been?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
It's also my first podcast, so I'm also a bit excited. So the journey has been truly, mesmerizing for me. Coming from a small town and a first generational lawyer, I didn't even knew I'll end up here. So I am an accidental lawyer, I would say. Nobody there to guide me initially. I've done my normal schooling from a city named Kashipur in Uttarakhand. And thereafter, I came to Delhi for my higher studies and I got admission in Delhi University. At that time, I got into the course of company secretaryship. So that is my first profession. I am a CS first. Then while I was doing my CS program, I met somebody who was already into law college in Delhi University North Campus. So that person guided me. I don't even know him now, but that fine conversation one evening over a cup of chai ended me filing for the law entrance exam in Delhi University.
Nice.
Even I was not aware I could crack it. Ultimately, I cracked it. So that is how I got into law after CS. And then I had my CS training going on towards the end, just to cut short. So at that time, law college started. So right now, I don't know, but in those years, DU had an evening program also. So for working professionals. So I joined the evening program of Delhi University Law Center 1 in North Campus. And then morning 8 to 5, I used to do my internship. Used to get 3,500 bucks a month, I believe. The metro fare was more than the internship amount. And then I used to travel back to DU. It was a 1.5 hour traveling by metro. I used to rush every day for 18 months or so, till the time I was juggling between CS training and my law classes. So it was an evening batch from 6:30 to 9:30 that we had. So for 3 years, out of 3 years, 18 months went like this. Then I ended up there. I met certain friends, and mostly who were twice my age, because in DU evening classes at that time, you had bureaucrats and working government officials who were posted in Delhi. They also used to take law as a subject. Or you have UPSC aspirants. They also used to study UPSC course in the morning, and evening they used to take law classes. So there, I would say my mental faculties developed towards law. And the changing point, I would say, is again the CS course, wherein I was blessed to have wonderful teachers. I believe one of the best in India who teaches you interpretation, what is the meaning of law. I was an average student in school. So from there to this, the journey has been incredible.
So then you got into the law school, you finished law school. Now you're a CS plus lawyer,
Yeah.
and I believe you were in Deloitte.
Yes. So
That was also quite a turning
Yep,
point.
yes. So while I was doing law, towards the end, I met certain friends, and they asked me, why you not apply for a job in Big Four firms. So I was not sure, because initially I was more inclined. I was an accidental lawyer, then I was an accidental indirect tax lawyer, I would say. Because initially I was inclined towards corporate laws, because in CS that is a main subject. Although we read indirect tax, but the main subject is company law and the securities law and that stuff. So I was very much into it, very interested. And in those years, it was around 2012 and 2013, the new Companies Act came.
Yeah.
2013. So, and at that time, I was doing my CS training. So I was aware of the new law, and it was very excitement was there on the horizon, that after 1956. So the earlier law was in 1956.
Yes.
So after so many years, it was repealed with the new law. So we thought we could look forward to a good career in company law. So I wanted to go into corporate law. I gave one interview for a assistant manager in a Big Four firm for corporate law profile. Unfortunately, that was taken up. So then another profile came my way through my friends only, and then it was for indirect tax. So I had some good friends in law college. I would say very 2 or 3 of them, because otherwise, to the people were twice my age. Like I'm telling you, there were very few young people there. So they said that I know that you know law well. So why not apply in indirect tax? Anyway, whatever you will read, you will be able to understand. So that is how I went for the interview. I crammed the entire service tax and everything. There was churning happening in service tax laws also at that time. So I just crammed it. Government had come with a negative regime. So in service tax, just to give you a background, till 2012, so government used to write like, you will be chargeable to service tax on, say, legal service. Then they will say you will be chargeable to service tax on, say, recording a podcast. Then they will say you will be chargeable for providing a taxi, rent a cab. So like this, they have around 112 services till 2012. Post 2012, they change the mandate, and they say we will provide for the exclusion category, rest everything is chargeable. So earlier there used to be dispute that I as a taxpayer would say I am not falling in 1112 of the services. If my service is 1113th or 14th or 15th, then I will take the benefit of not paying the tax, and there used to be litigation. The government thought that why not change it? So they called it the negative regime. So it was a big change. It happened in 2012 July, I believe. So that is why it was introduced in July. It was 2013 and 14. It was being implemented. People were getting familiar. So even that space was exciting. That is how I went into indirect tax. There was a demand, I believe, for more professionals due to the negative list. Everybody thought they have to pay some service tax, and advisory litigation work was flowing. So then I went, and then I landed up in Deloitte in 2015. I worked there for 2 years, and I was very sure from the beginning, to be honest, that I'll only work for 2-3 years because I'll go independent. It is in my nature, I would say, that I like taking risk or I like going outside my comfort zone. Coming from a background of a small city, I don't have anything to lose anyway. Like that was my attitude. What what worst can happen? Even if the job goes, I know I'm coming from nowhere. So I'll do something. That was my mindset. So I took that chance, and it clicked to for 2 years, and Deloitte went very well. In fact, I believe I was due for promotion when I left. And my senior used to ask me, "You have gone out of your mind.
Mm.
People think this is their dream job to land up in Big Four. GST is on the horizon 2-3 months down the line." So we were like in April 2017, new financial year was starting, and July GST came. And I believe June, July, August is also the promotion period. I don't remember exactly. So he said, now GST is coming, people are getting promoted, you will get new opportunity, growth. What what in the world will you do and go back to that small place again? And the challenges that will speak of, the way you work, the way you draft in a Big Four firm, obviously, and the way you do in
The
a
brand
normal,
and
the brand, the clients.
yeah,
So there's a huge difference.
yeah.
So he used to tell me, you give me names of at least one client that you know you will have after going from here, and then you can go. Otherwise, have some sense, think over it.
So he was a good mentor.
He was a good mentor, and I didn't listen to him. I was a bad student, as always.
No, but everything all's well that ends well, so it's okay. It makes for a good story. So then you moved in. I'm really curious to know how and why. I mean, you did mention a little bit about your attitude. You know that I have nothing to lose, but at the same time, when somebody who you believe in and trust is telling you, "Yeah, give me just one client," and then what was that strength of conviction? Where was it born?
I think you have to go back a little bit to my childhood. So I have seen days, I don't know, you are a Bombay girl, you might not know, or you might know. I have seen days when we used to have our final exams in school, there used to come a slip. So there's an anecdote. And that slip used to have the names of students who have not paid their annual fees.
Hmm.
So almost every year my slip used to come, and I knew. So you got 3 hours to write the exams.
Yeah.
Just before the exam, that peon would come from the principal's office, and he will come with 2, 3, 4 slips or names. He'll give it to the teacher. Then the teacher will call out your name. Then you leave the class, you go to the principal's admin office. Then your family would be called or whatever. Then you settle. Then you get to sit in the exams. So I have seen that time also. So for me, when my senior said, give me name of one client, so I was thinking in my mind, I even didn't know whether I will sit for the final exams. He is worrying about clients. I am not worried.
Oh,
I have lived a life different way.
how sweet. Okay.
So I have come from that background till here. Yeah. When I didn't know whether I will write this year. So it used to happen every year, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. So I've seen it for 5, 6 years continuously. So what more worst can happen to me? That was the attitude. So it was coming from the initial years only. So I've seen that struggle in my life. I have not read about struggle. Not
But
to say.
Aishwarya, I must take this opportunity to congratulate you because I came to your office today. I've never come to your office before. And it's a beautiful space. I know you just moved in recently. We were discussing that. It's been when you say it's been a mesmerizing journey, it's not a play on words. It's actually
It is.
the truth. Yeah, yeah, it is. Many congratulations to you. In fact, when I was sitting, when we were waiting for you to come, and we were sitting, I was talking to Avishi, your HR person, and she was talking about, all the things that. I know this is not something you wanted to talk about, but she was telling me about, all the things that you have in for a promotion of general culture in your, and how you think that you want to grow together as one team, one dream, that kind of thing. and everyone has free food, and they have food reimbursements, and they have gym reimbursements,
Yes,
and
yes, we
you want,
promote, we promote,
yeah,
we
go to
promote
the
that.
gym, and basically you want, she was talking about your Diwali and how you did, and then you have awards and recognitions for everybody, different categories.
Yes, you have monthly awards,
Best dressed,
dress,
and
yes.
stuff like that. So I was really impressed. I mean, I was taking notes for myself as well. I would love to do it and institute it at our organization. But many congratulations to
Thank
you.
you. Thank
You've given me a lot of segues to talk about. I mean, of course, we're going to speak about GST. I would like to know more about that. But since maybe I want to spend a little more time on your personal, I don't know, personality. Maybe if you had to tell people Aishwarya the lawyer and Aishwarya the person, how would you describe each category?
Well, Aishwarya, the person I will describe as a survivor. I believe that word describes me best. Like I give 2, 3 examples. So from my early childhood, I've been a survivor. Even when I joined the law college, like I was telling you, I was in evening college and I didn't have any backing here. And I am of a mindset that if I get an opportunity to do things on my own and I get an opportunity to take a favor, I'll prefer to do it on my own. So even when I was looking for my CS training, so my senior at that time, God bless him, he is now settled in Canada. So I went him through normal interview process. So there was no issue on the knowledge part or anything about the CS course. He just asked me one thing: how would you manage 18 months? So my office was in Janakpuri in Delhi, and my law college was in North Campus. So it's around 1 hour by metro in rush hours, 1.5 maybe, and then you have to walk also. So he used to ask me, just tell me one thing, how would you manage college after leaving from here? So my only request is, sir, rest everything I'll manage. Don't worry. We know how to do hard work. That is not a challenge for me. You just allow me to leave at 5. So the timing was, I believe, 5:30. So I just requested one thing. I'll come half an hour early or whatever. I'll sit on weekend, Sunday. That's not a challenge. We have done it throughout our life. We didn't have money to pay fee. We can bear this thing. So that was my thinking. So he generously agreed, thankfully, that okay, you leave at 5. So that is how I could leave at 5 and reach by 6:30, by which time the college used to start. So survivor mindset. That is what I just want to point out. Then when I went to Deloitte, today we are sitting on 35th floor. It's very easy for me, right, to meet people and meet new clients. When I came from that small city to Delhi to study and then went to Deloitte for an interview, I have not seen a maybe a more than a 10-floor building in my life on my own. I have seen it in movies, but not on my own. So even the buildings used to intimidate me. That okay, what kind, we used to think what kind of superhuman persons are sitting inside those rooms, what kind of knowledge they might have, that you coming from a small town might not even know what kind of questions they will ask. You will not know the answer, but end of the day, if you have a good command over the law, and other things get sorted out.
Got it.
Yes, yes.
And when it comes to as a lawyer, I mean, I'm curious to know. So you moved out, you had zero clients by your own admission, you had no prospects. What happened then? What was the first block? How did you start? Like,
When we went back, or I went back, so what I started was,
so you went back to Kashi.
yes, we went back to Kashipur, that being my hometown. And just for the viewers, it was an excise exempted zone. So what's an excise exempted zone? So you pay, before GST you used to pay excise duty on manufacturing, and you pay VAT on selling of goods, right? So excise exempted zones means government has given certain states the benefit of excise exemption. There, if you set up an industry, you need not pay excise duty for say 10 years. So Uttarakhand is an excise exempted zone.
Pettis for
So
manufacturing.
industries were there.
Yeah.
Kashipur, Rudrapur, then you have Dehradun, then you have Haridwar. There are industrial areas. So it's an industrial belt in northern India. So when I went there, so the industries were there who were basically MSME, and then certain good players were also there, the brands. So I try to meet their CAs or their CFOs or legal heads or sometimes their owners. And then I used to tell them that I used to work in Deloitte, so you can get the the quality of a good big four firm in your small city. Some of them gave chances to us, some of them didn't give
So,
chance.
what was the first chance that you got? How did you get that?
So
How much
I
time did it take you?
honestly it didn't take much of a time. Within I would say a month and 45 days, we landed our first client. So at that time, when GST came in July 2017, there was a buzz that something has happened. And there were government seminars, there were trade union seminars, there were local chamber of commerce, like you have SOCHAM, you have FICCI, you have CII in Delhi. You have every state have their own chamber of commerces. They used to have their seminars. So we used to go, and I used to go there, I used to attend them. Certain times I used to speak, certain times I used to ask some questions. That is how you meet and greet people in our industry. We cannot do any advertisement, right? But we can stand on a forum and discuss things. So lots of seminars were happening at that time. I participated in them. Some people knew me from there. Some thought, okay, nobody knows GST here, like he is saying, so let us just try out. Some who were aware of a big four name or a quality name was aware that, okay, we can get that service here. Obviously, they'll not pay me the fees that they'll pay to somebody in Delhi back then. But yes, we landed certain clients, and that is how the journey started.
So when did you move from Kashipur to Delhi then?
Yes, so then I continued there till COVID time, I would say, from 17 till 20. Post COVID, I was appearing. So Dehradun is the capital of Uttarakhand. So I used to go to Dehradun also for big matters, the hearings, etc. were happening there.
And you were arguing.
Yes, I was I was draftsman, I was arguing, I was the driver driving 250 kilometers to attend the hearing and come back. So I was everybody back then.
You have seen the Namar Akbar Anthony movie?
Uh,
उसमें विनोद खन्ना का character.
right.
You were like that.
That reminds me of Govinda's movie, na, that one day he was a doctor, another day he was impersonating in that movie. He was maybe a lawyer, then another day he used to become some sales head. So every hat I was wearing at that time, all the founders wear. So it is not a new story. So I was in Dehradun for a pro bono hearing, imagine. And there I got in, after the hearing, somebody else's hearing was also there. I got introduced to the Patanjali's team. So Patanjali, I can take their name. They are my biggest client, I would say. Their headquarters is in Haridwar in Uttarakhand. They also had some matter there. Somebody heard me there arguing before a certain bench of tax officers or something back then. And then it was a pro bono matter. I was paying from my own pocket, going from Kashipur till Dehradun. It is like coming to Delhi from 250 kilometers drive, right? The 500 kilometers in a day. And I used to do it a lot back then because you cannot afford to stay in a hotel. Like today, the client can pay you for 3 days. Today, it's not a challenge. But back then, I knew I cannot stay in a hotel. Client is only paying me to attend the hearing. And for the maybe the traveling cost, that's maximum the normal Indian MSME client pays. They don't pay you to stay in a fancy hotel. People know who practice in that field. So it was very clear, you have to go early morning, come back by night. So I was on a pro bono matter. Somebody asked me to help somebody, and I went there. And in that hearing, they heard me. And after hearing me, they referred one case to me, or they asked my advice. I told them after reading it was a taxation matter only, not GST, it was service tax, the legacy. Before GST, service tax, etc. was there. I told them that you need not pay this 3 crore or 5 crore rupees dispute was there. They said that a very seasoned chartered accountant has told them to pay this amount and get the case closed. So I told them that no, it is not required legally. So they say, okay, you argue this matter. It was in Uttarakhand High Court. Later on, I won that matter ultimately. So that is how I will say it was the turning point of my professional career after leaving big four firm and going to a small city. That is how I got my first break with a big name there. And then over a period of time, once trust builds in our profession, it's all about trust, knowledge, right? So from 1 it became 5, from 5 it became 10 cases. The record was almost 100%, every time won all the cases without any team, nothing. In high court and sometimes in appellate authorities, sometime in tribunal, sometime in lower so whatever level. First, so in tax you don't go to a civil court.
Yeah.
There's a separate hierarchy of officers who have the powers of the civil court, right? So you go before the adjudicating authority, who's the first level, then assessing authority, then you go to the appellate chain, then you reach the tribunal, then the high court and supreme court comes. So there I got my first big break, and after that got many cases, won all of them for Patanjali Group. Then I opened an office in Dehradun around 2022. Within 2 years, I opened an office in Dehradun.
So then you moved from Kashipur.
Yes, for a very short time I moved there, or I was juggling between both the cities, you can say.
And then when did you come to Delhi then?
Yes, so when we start, when I start, we means RB Lawcock. So whatever 3-4 people were there at that time. So we realized we need to build a team. And
So you were just individual lawyers that are banded
yes,
together under RB Lawcock.
so I hired lawyers to assist me. So I was the only one in that sense, and I hired people to assist me, and they used to get paid for whatever fee
You had
they
like
were
a vendor. It was almost like a contractual.
Yes. So
Not like they were not your juniors.
1 or 2 were my juniors, 1 or 2 you hire in between, because like I'm saying now, I used to get cases of outstation matters only, not only Dehradun or Uttarakhand. I used to get cases in Hyderabad and other places also. So there's a limit how much you can travel. There are times when I'm traveling 15 days in a month.
Even now.
Even now, 8 to 10 days in a month are outside, because now we are a pan India firm. Although we are based out of Delhi, but we practice in almost 23-24 states. In 17-18 states, I have ongoing GST matters right now. And in 8 to 10 high courts at any given day, I have a GST matter happening in a month, I'm talking about. So even then, I used to get matters which were outside Uttarakhand and other places. So I decided that now we need to build a team, because the focus was always to actually the focus was clear from the very beginning. Like I said, now I am a survivor. So focus was leaving Big Four, going independent, not to get only my own name. The focus was always to build a brand. That was very clear from the beginning, that I have to become a brand. Now, I cannot become a brand individually, although that is also one of the methods in our field. You become a, you stand up the ladder, you become a respected senior. But that was not my thought process. My thought process was to build an Indian legal brand over a period of time, and that journey had to start. So that is when I decided now we need to do it under a corporate umbrella with a brand name and with a good team of lawyers. And I should not be the only name. So in Dehradun or in Uttarakhand, or many people will resonate on that. You don't get exceptional talent in those cities. Why? Not because they are not there, but because they are already living in metros. They don't want to come back. So somebody has shifted to Mumbai, he'll not shift back to Dehradun to practice and sit in my office. So that is when I realized that we need to have a presence in either Delhi NCR or Bombay. Delhi NCR being the first choice because it is a hub of everything.
Correct.
And I have my studies and all, everything has been here. So it was a natural choice for me. So initially, then I decided to, obviously, I cannot afford an office here at that time. So I decided to have a shared office. So there are many co-working spaces, right? We work Regus. So I took a seat in Regus to start with. And it went on empty for 1 or 2 months. Then I started posting vacancy on my LinkedIn. So I was the HR, I was the admin at that time. I was
become
everybody. So I used to post on my LinkedIn about vacancies. Nobody used to apply because nobody knew RB Law. I started RB Law in 2022 when I shifted to Dehradun from Kashipur. So I started RB Law. But nobody knew. I knew now what I am having in my mind. The world does not know till then. So nobody used to apply. Then 4 or 5 months down the line, I used to get some CVs, out of which I got my first, I would say, junior here in Noida. So I started with one seat in a shared office, and it was just round the corner in sector 16. Right now we are in sector 18. It was in sector 16, World Trade Tower. So there we got our first junior, and then that journey started. I used to juggle between three cities now. So it was now Kashipur, then Dehradun, then Noida. Then I used to come and go back on the same day, or I used to travel. Another challenge was that when you get outstation matters, you have to go by flight. So
Yeah.
there is no airport in that city. There is an airport in Dehradun, but flights are not going to all the cities from there. So ultimately, the airport is in Delhi.
Yeah.
You have to come to Delhi.
Yeah.
And if you travel 250 kilometers one way, then you take a flight, then you take early morning flight, then you come back. So it's a 3 day affair. It wastes your 3 days.
Yeah.
I have lived like that for 1.5, 2 years. So that was another reason that the base has to be in a big city in Delhi. And over a period of time, started getting good clients apart from Patanjali. Other good big brands also came board. Entire Patanjali group came. Then initially one case came, one company came, then more than 30, 40 companies I think we started representing. Never gave a bad judgment or a negative judgment.
Yeah.
Touch wood. Even if we got one, then we got it overturned in appeal or something. So ultimately you win. So on an average out of 100, if you are winning 80, 70 cases, then it is fine in our field. Right? 100%, there's no thing like 100%. So that has been the journey to Delhi NCR, from one seat, then 2, 3 people said. Then I shifted here. So when I shifted in Noida, I think in 2023, and there were only 5 people in the office, including me. And I was also sitting on one of the shared chairs only. So that was all we could afford. Then we won certain big cases, and all other clients also came. So the thought process, like I said, was always to build a brand. So whether we take home something or not, that is not important for me. The important thing is to build the brand. So I invested in an office, in a good space that we are sitting today, invested in people and technology. I will tell you down the line, we even have our own internal case management software.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we are building it.
But,
People use third party software by many websites. We have built our own internal case management software.
why you wanted something very customized to you?
Yes, one was that. Two was, like I said, now I don't want to stick in my comfort zone again. So with AI and everything coming, so the thought process is to keep on evolving with time. So the next big thing is AI, and so like we see companies like Paytm and MobiKwik, etc. They are fintech. We hear now about law tech companies.
Yeah.
Right. So I wanted to enter into that law tech thing. So that is why now, well, it is undergoing trial for the past 1.5 years.
Yeah.
But in our office, we use that software. It has everything from expense management to reimbursement to HR related function to admin functions to our daily cases and all hearings, data uploading. In fact, it also has an AI reader who is starting reading the documents to assist the team. So the journey has been in that
Right.
manner.
Yeah, interesting.
We are still evolving.
You're still evolving. Yeah, I'm sure, because a few of the conversations that I was have also having with your team while we were waiting was, I, like I told you, I'm also taking notes for myself, and how we want to implement a few things, yeah, in our company. But we spoke a lot about GST, and that is the mainstay. So uh, you recently, I read an article of yours where you had traced 8 years of GST regime. Actually, just give us a little bit of understanding of that. Let's do a context setting, and then maybe we can go deeper on that. How has been the 8 years that
Yes,
thing?
yes.
What?
So GST is undoubtedly one of the biggest or financial sector reforms post independence era. So before GST, what used to happen was you used to have state specific laws at the state level, and assuming you are a manufacturer, so you would have to have three at least different type of laws and compliance. One, when you manufacture, you pay excise duty. That was a center. part of the union list, right? Then when you manufacture it, so it is excise duty. Then when you sell it, then you pay VAT on it. So it is part of the state subject, list 2. And then if you are availing certain services to manufacture that product, for example, you are availing some design service or certain thing, or you are also a manufacturer who also a service provider, a AMC, maybe you are manufacturing a air condition and then you are giving monthly AMC also. So you are giving certain services. So that is service tax coming into the picture. So there were these different taxes which were there before 2017. The talk started in 2008. In fact, my senior in Big Four used to say that when we joined with this thought process that initially after 2-3 years GST might come in 2008. So they thought around 2011-12, if GST comes, then maybe we can go independent. But
Yeah.
by the time GST came, they have kids and everything.
So
Now it is not possible.
yeah, now we're stuck.
Yes, now it is not
Stressful.
possible. Yes. So, but for me, it was possible being a young professional. So, this was all which was happening. So, discussion started from 2008, several meetings of state finance ministers headed by the union's finance minister, and everybody started. And ultimately, when 2014, the new regime came led by our honorable prime minister, so then they took it very seriously that we need to implement it. And I think Mr. Arun Jaitley was the person who was the finance minister back then. He started this process and took it to the conclusion also. So now in GST, all the pre-GST indirect taxes, almost all of them, are merged into one. So it is a very good and actually, so the name is given is good and simple tax. Na? Personally, I believe it is a very good and simple, actually simple tax. Earlier, I have to deal with excise department, I have to deal with VAT department. And imagine I am a big company like a Pepsi or somebody who is working in all 29 states across India. So I deal with 29 VAT departments.
Yes.
I do 29 compliances. I do 29 assessments, etc. every year, every year. And then I have 29 different interpretations. The very same thing before GST could be taxed at 5% in one state, could be taxed at 8% in another, could be taxed at 12.5 in some other, could be taxed at 1% in another. So there was a mess of everything. All this was sorted out with GST when it merged into a single tax. Secondly, so now we need to go a bit technical. So there is a concept of input tax credit. So to make it easy, if I say purchase a laptop for my business, I pay 50,000 rupees for the laptop and I pay 15,000 rupees for the tax. I buy it for 65, right? So the 15,000 taxes that I pay, I can get the benefit of that tax while I am giving my output service or I am giving my output side, whatever turnover I am having, right? So this 15,000 is legally called as input tax credit. So before GST, what used to happen was this 15,000 was only available as benefit within the same state. So suppose you are a chartered accountant, you are providing CA services, your client is based in the same state, then you buy a laptop for your firm, you get the benefit of this 15,000 while paying service tax on the output side. But if the very same chartered accountant has a client who is outside his state, then in that case, if he is paying VAT, so this example might not exactly apply, but if he is a seller of goods and he sells the goods outside his states, then he will pay a tax called CST, Central Sales Tax, and that has another different rate. And the benefit of 15,000 is not available in such cases. So this is technically called as cascading effect, wherein you pay tax on tax.
Yeah.
So my cost will increase. So if I am having something of 65, then I will charge you over and above 65. I will also earn some margin, right? So I will charge you say 70,000 to provide the same service. If I get this 15,000 benefit, then maybe I can sell you my service or goods at 55.
Yeah.
Because 15,000 to anyway I got net off, right? So the point is the cascading effect was the main issue, and then the compliance burden. These were the two major things before GST,
Sorted with GST.
which were sorted. So the 8-year journey, although look, there is nothing utopian. You always have something which is always better and you can get for it. In fact, I remember a recent Honorable Supreme Court judgment, maybe by the name of VKC Footsteps, that was on GST matter. So therein there are very good 2-3 paragraphs on the subject of what is the best GST. So the court observes that the best GST is an utopian GST, but the issue was regarding some refund issue. So the court said it is not for us to make the GST the best GST. It is for the parliament and the legislature to do that. So there is room for improvement, but that does not mean that GST is not a good and simple tax.
So, what room of improvement would you like in the next 5 years? If you say, what are some of the things that you would like to see improved? One or two.
Two things that I will come to my mind are one, India, since we talk about vocal for local and going global with everything, promoting exports. So exporters, so in taxation it is said you export the goods, not the taxes.
Yeah.
So what means by that is that government will not charge you anything on the inward side as long as you are exporting your outward side. Why? Because they want to promote export, you get foreign exchange for the country, you make a brand name for the country outside India, etc., etc. Now there is a process to claim this refund. Although it is very much streamlined in GST, it is almost automatic. I would say you file everything on the online portal and you need not visit any government department. You get it online in your bank account through the back channel. You don't even know what is happening, but there are so many departments which are working on the back side, right, to implement this scheme. But there are certain restrictions. So like if I purchase a machinery, then I don't get the benefit of refund on that because it is called as a capital goods in GST law, and you don't get refund of taxes which you pay on capital goods. So plant and machinery is a classic example. So maybe some more rationalization for the in exporters, in the sense you start getting refunds for plant and machinery also, because GST does not, either you are providing a, you are receiving a goods or you're receiving a service. How does that matter which goods or which service?
Yeah.
So that classification has to go. So that is one major thing I would want to see to change in 5 years down the line, that you get refund for everything. Because anyway, you are not, businessman is not here to pay taxes. He is here to do his business.
Yeah.
Taxes is just an, an ancillary part that he has to do the compliance, because in the indirect tax chain, so that is the difference between a direct tax and an indirect. Direct tax you pay on your income, everybody pays on their own. Indirect tax, the concept is that ultimately its burden is borne by the consumer.
Yes.
But the government, so there, for example, in our country, there may be 100 crore consumers of, say, a biscuit, Parle G. Government cannot collect GST from 100 crore people who are eating Parle G. Na tax officer will not go to the chai ki dukan na and say, okay, you are eating Parle G, give me 2 rupees GST on this biscuit. That does not happen that way. So ultimately, it is the chain. The chain, the manufacturer, the retailer, the stockist, the super distributor, etc. So the government collects the tax at the chain level. It does not collect the tax at consumer level. That is why giving input tax credit also. That is the whole philosophy, that it passes on the chain and ultimately it reaches the consumer. So indirect tax is a tax which is paid by the people in the chain. Actually, the tax is not on them. The tax is on the consumer,
Yeah.
as contrasted to income tax, right? So here I should be able to get the refund, like I say, or the input credit of everything. So coming to your question is, second thing I want to see which can be rationalized over a period of time is block. There is a concept called blocked credit in GST.
Hmm.
So GST law says whatever business related goods or expenditure you will make, you can take the credit of everything except a few things which is provided in section 17 of the CGST Act. Now when we read section 17, it's a long list. Like for example, food related expenses, I don't get the credit. It is blocked credit.
Food related means like
Food, like I give a treat to my juniors in my office and I take them to a good hotel and we eat food at the restaurant. They give us the bill, they charge GST. I will not be able to claim the benefit of that GST. So this is one example. Then motor vehicles. It's a policy decision. It was there earlier also, but now the thing is we are liberating everything now. So this is the
Yeah.
thing that should also be liberated. So motor vehicle above a certain category they have made, you will get credit, otherwise you will not. So for example, I buy a Honda City for my business purpose, I will not get the benefit of GST input tax credit.
But
Although I pay,
Mercedes, then you will get.
no, even on Mercedes I won't get. But if I buy a truck for the goods transportation, then I will get. So there are categories, there are slabs. So the point is, why at all have a slab? Then there are disputes. What is motor vehicle? What is not motor vehicle? Then what do you mean by seating capacity? They use the word seating capacity above 14. Whether it includes driver, does not include driver. There can be n number of things. Fancy interpretations always come out. So the taxpayer always wants that he gets the credit.
Obviously.
The tax department generally wants that they block the credit, because when they block the credit, they get the payment then and there.
Yeah.
Right? They need not wait till the consumption level.
Correct.
So there is a concept of block credit. Another important block credit is on buildings. This was a big issue recently before the Supreme Court also, in a very interesting judgment by the name of Safari Retreats. So although there the Supreme Court, they interpreted, so I'll go a bit technical, the definition of plant and machinery and plant or machinery. So they interpreted between and or in that case. So if your building is falling as plant or machinery, then you are eligible for credit subject to satisfaction of conditions. And if it is falling in the definition of plant and machinery, then it is outside. So why complicate the things?
Yeah.
The point is that why don't you allow credit on everything as long as it is used for business? If I am building an office, if I am a manufacturer, I am an MSME, I am Apple, I am coming and investing in India. I am spending, say, $2 billion to build a facility. Obviously, I will build buildings and everything for the company to work. And you will not allow me GST credit on $2 billion. Then it will increase my cost, which goes against the ethos of GST.
Yeah.
That it will reduce the cost by giving you credit of everything. That is the purpose. Even otherwise, before GST, taxes were there, businesses were going on, but you were not getting credit on everything.
So these are some of the things that you would
These
like
are some of the
yes.
things I would like that they should change over a period of time. The regime becomes more liberal. It is a wonderful regime, to be honest. You do everything online. You don't need to go to the tax department as frequently as maybe you used to go earlier. There were multiple forms, compliances. People used to go weekly or on a daily basis to a department to get certain statutory form. Otherwise, they will not get the benefit of
Basically, you
exemption.
think efficiency has been increased, time reduction, all that is okay.
Yes.
But now we can tweak the engine better
Yes.
and be more current.
Right. Now it is time to go to the next level. I
the
would
next
say.
start.
Yes, the things have settled down. Initially, when we used to read the GST bulletins, right? So at that time, we used to read that the monthly GST revenue to the government is 80,000 crores, 90,000 crores. Then it jumped to 1 lakh crores. It was a big news. It came 1 lakh. Now it is touching 2 lakh crores. So it is almost twice what we started. So I believe the government is getting sufficient revenue and it has room to
Allow
make these
change.
thinking changes, and it will boost business even more, consumption even more.
When I read your tracing article, and then when I saw you actually do a lot of thought leadership, keep writing, and I was wondering, how do you have the time to, or your practice, how do you manage to have a practice and then be a guide or a mentor for your team, and also have some time to pause and think and read and write and all that? How do you manage your time like this?
Well, I learned this thing from a seminar or a lecture which was given by, I will call him a legendary senior advocate, Mr. Arvind Datar. So I was listening to him somewhere. He told 2-3 things to young lawyers who want to make a mark in the profession. One of them was, he said, I think, that you have to write. So you cannot obviously write a book very easily. And in today's age, I believe writing articles is much easy in that sense, and it it has a good reach also. So I have written roughly around 50 articles by now on GST and this ancillary subjects. And earlier, when the things were not online, so you used to write an article, it will be published in some journal. Maybe its publication is limited to South India, its publication is limited to North India or something like that. You reach only to those people there. Now you write an article now. So I write articles for all the major, prestigious text journals which are having online websites. So I write it there, they publish it, and then the reach is also there. You get to reach hundreds of people over a period of 1 week, as compared to very less people in back in the day. So he used to say, you keep writing or articles. So he used to give this advice to youngsters. So I took it from there, and that is how I made it a point that I will write. Now ultimately, look, it everybody has 24 hours, so it comes on time management. You can stop the social media consumption. Anyway, in our profession, na, it is said law is a jealous mistress. It takes away your evenings, right? So you don't have your evenings. You have to study. Otherwise, you can only reach a level. So if you want to cross that level, you have to pay that daily price of reading and writing. So it comes as a habit. So I would say I have made it a habit now. So if I don't write an article for maybe a month or so, then I think something is missing. So it become part of my daily routine.
I wanted to ask you about, you when you were talking about from Kashipur to Dehradun, now Delhi, and uh, how and now you have a multi-city sort of boutique law firm, right? I'm curious also to know about this running of a multi-city boutique. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the lessons you've learned, and how are you? This is becoming almost like a therapy kind of a professional consulting session, I think. But I'm sure a lot of people may also be curious about this. How are you running this? What are some of the challenges that you face, and how are you solving for it?
It has its own challenges, I would say.
So one is in a small town, here
Yes,
is in a large
yes.
city. People are
So,
different.
so look, initially I used to do compliance. So when I went to Kashipur, it was more on the compliance side, less. Anyway, when a new law is there, the government is also not, enforcing it very hard
If you are
from day one. They are giving you a free way to adjust. Even the officers didn't knew law that good back then. They are also adjusting to the new system. So in the initial 2 3 years, there was hardly any litigation. Either you go to high court for some natural justice violation, that is a different issue. But there was no regular, as we say, assessment, adjudication, audits, and other things that happen in GST regime, which have now started coming over a huge way now. So that was not there. So I used to do compliance. So there in Kashipur, I used to have a compliance team, mostly based. So my juniors who were there, I have a team of 8 to 10 people over there. Till now, I have. So initially, I used to do compliance because Big Fours also do compliance when I was in a Deloitte. So I also used to do compliance, advisory, litigation, all three. So I know. And it is like many seniors say now that don't come to High Court, Supreme Court directly. Go to civil court, go to a sessions court, learn the process. At least you should know how a civil plaint is filed,
Yeah.
how a bail application is filed. Don't rush to the writ courts. So in our field, in taxation, compliance is just like doing that thing only. Because unless you know the compliance part, you will not master the litigation part. That is what I feel. Because litigation in taxation, it connects with the compliance thing, and there are so many forms, monthly, annually, quarterly, and number of things, and certain forms are running into 20 pages, which are called as returns, monthly returns, yearly returns. Unless you know which table of which return has that amount, why does it has that amount, from where that amount is coming, then you go back to the books of account, the financial angle of it. So compliance helps you understand and develop a deep knowledge. So initially I did compliance in that city. Then when I started in Dehradun, didn't do any compliance back then. Now I don't do any compliance. Now it's purely
Litigation.
litigation, advisory, health checkup, or such kind of things. If there is some refund issue, there's some DGGI, the search or seizure, those kind of things only. But those were my compliance years. But I still have that team because now that team supports my litigation team. So another point is people have misunderstood GST. it is a law, I would say, which requires both the accounting or the finance professional as well as the lawyer. If you want to do mastery, if you see now all the good great seniors in our profession, like I believe Mr. Arvind Dattar is a cost accountant. His first profession was
True.
that, right? Mr. Harish Salve, I think he's also a chartered accountant. He was that
He-
first profession. So if you read about all the good, the great Nani Palkhiwala was also an expert of accounts and he used to attend classes. That's what I have read from his book.
Yeah.
So all the good legal professionals who have grown in this field, they have to have a knowledge of accountancy, of financial background. So when I did my compliance and built a team, that team is still there. So now they support my legal team who go to the high court. Now you are arguing on a matter and you don't know how that monthly return is filed. Then you might lose it then and there because you don't understand. And the lawyers are don't taught compliance in law colleges. In fact, law colleges don't have a GST exam, I believe. Very
No,
few
no,
might have.
yeah, for us, tax was a optional subject.
Yes, it's a alien subject.
It was optional.
Right.
So nobody takes it.
Nobody
So
takes it.
sorry.
And even in taxation, they teach you income tax in law colleges. They don't teach you indirect tax.
But I'm not sure how it is now. But
Yeah, now I hear in some universities or some colleges it has changed, but mostly it is still an optional subject. So the uh, multi-city firm, it has its challenges. I have very few clients now in those two cities. Mostly now the clients are in Delhi, so the all the litigation etc is also happening in Delhi NCR and other states. So we are based off Delhi, but we have litigation, like I said, across 17, 18, 19 states.
so they are more like support
Yes, they are a
firm.
support role.
Support offices.
Yes, they are a support offices. We are managing everything from our
Yeah.
base in Delhi, I would say. And then we have we have a panel of experts on our own panel. They are professionals in different parts in India. So if you have give me a case in Chennai, I have a local person over there. So who can handle it for me? Yes. So that networking and panel we have now.
Yeah.
Yes. So
That
that's
is-
how we manage.
I mean, yeah. Think a lot of us end up working like that.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you why you chose to go deep in GST and not wide when you decided to uh, go on your own. But I suspect that you have at some point given the answer.
Yes, so like I said, I was a accidental lawyer, then accidental indirect tax lawyer.
And
They
you
were-
just happened to be in the right place at the right
yes,
time.
you can say in hindsight everybody is wise.
Yeah.
So now if I look back, so I think that that break over chai
Yeah.
or that conversation with my friend in law college who recommended very casually that you can apply in there also there are vacancies, something is happening in service tax regime. So that was the thing. But I am a firm believer that you need to have a expertise on one thing. So my expertise was on corporate law, and being a company secretary, they teach you tax laws also. So I would say I had an expertise on both. So that is why so if somebody would have asked me to go and do practice in arbitration, I would not have done it because I am a firm believer. Rather than going journalist, maybe you can go journalist after you have reached the level because then you can expand your team, you can get a new partner, you can you cannot do it when you're doing it on your own. Like I said, when you're drafting, I am the draftsman, I am the arguing counsel, I am the person who is visiting the client, I am also the business development person. At that time I believe expertise helps a lot.
Yeah. I
Because
agree with
clients trust you when you give results, and results would only come over a long period of time when you know the law very well. If you are a journalist, then sometimes the result might come, sometimes it might not come. That is how I think it. To each his own. Maybe somebody else thinks.
No, I
That is the
also
way.
agree that you need to initially maybe when we are very young and you're getting into or you're exploring as an intern, you can probably
Yes.
look around and do your shopping. But at some point, you need to
You have to decide.
pick a lane and stick to it.
Right.
I think I have only one question to close out this section, which is, for young lawyers or students or whoever listening to this, if they i- what kind of opportunities do you think is there in the field of, say, niche fields like GST or IBC? Or IBC is not so niche anymore, but I'm just saying, if they want to pick this lane, what do you think is the opportunity? Do you see an opportunity
Yes, I believe this is just the beginning of the opportunity in my understanding. And with uh, our country going from 1 trillion to 2 trillion, then we are aiming for $5 trillion economy. The transactions will increase, and GST is what? It is an indirect tax, and it is on every transaction. So if thousands of transactions are taking place every day through your UPI or anything, somewhere somewhere someone is watching it, and it is getting recorded, and it might get reported somewhere, and somebody has to pay the tax. If somebody has to pay the tax, then some officer would verify whether it is right or wrong. So the opportunities are ample, I would say. And again, I'm saying, people have not, with due respect, so there is a, I would say, vacuum also.
Hmm.
How? I will tell you. The old professionals, I'm not talking about the good seniors or people who are practicing in High Court. I am talking about the departmental practice right now in GST. We are not only in High Court and Supreme Court. Our major work is at departmental level till tribunal. Tribunal has not been formed, but that is where the major work would be. So from tribunal, I remember you asked me now what 5 years down the line what we want in GST. So one of the point that I missed is tribunal. It has still not started. It has been 8 years. It is down the horizon. Recently in the notification, everything has come, and we expect it to start from January or December. But 2 weeks ago, the Honorable Supreme Court has given that landmark judgment on tribunal. Now they have struck down the certain key provisions of the Tribunal Reforms Act. Just 2 weeks ago, they have struck down. Now, those very provisions which were struck down in Tribunal Reforms Act case are same to same in GST Act now. So that judgment will have an impact on this tribunal also. In fact, I have written an article on that around 10-15 days back.
I see.
Because the provisions are same, and when the court has said they are unconstitutional, so they are unconstitutional even in that act or any other act. They are unconstitutional, simple as that. So I don't see how the tribunal will come up in December and January now, although the notification everything is out, but I suspect it will start. So that is one of the wish list. Again, input tax credit refund and this tribunal thing, it has to start, because not everybody can, not everybody can afford to go to High Court.
Yeah.
You have to have a big lawyer and everything, and then it is at the center of the state, etc.
Yeah, it's not.
Right. And in big high courts, you have a separate tax bench.
Yeah.
You argue, the learned judges already know what is happening.
Yeah.
But in small high courts, there are no regular tax bench.
Yeah.
I say it with utmost humility. So there are very few honorable judges. Then you have to argue before them. It takes more time
To convince them.
Yes. Whereas the entire concept of tribunal is based on this thing also, that you have expert of that field who will man that judicial office, and they will make the life of everybody easy. And they will give you quick judgments, obviously. So, and at a lesser cost. So,
True.
that is the thing.
So what I want.
Yes, so I was sorry, I just transgressed to the earlier. So I was coming to the opportunities in GST. So I was saying the old professionals who were practicing in VAT laws, in service tax, initially, that is my understanding, and I might be perfectly wrong. I think what they thought is the problem is not with GST actually. People ask now what is the issues in GST that should be solved. Like you asked, so that was my wish list. Those were not issues. GST is a wonderful tax. It is the professionals who practice in that tax. I believe they don't understand it that well. Because it is not the job of the businessman to understand what is written in section 16 and what is written in section 17 and what is written in section 70.
Correct.
It is the job of the professional. Professionals, the older ones I am talking, with great humility, they have applied their understanding of VAT laws into GST regime, and that has made the things complicated a bit. Because this is a whole new law.
Yeah.
Its ethos are totally different.
Yeah. Perspective.
Yes, it is.
Change of fundamental.
Yes, it is just like the 1991 reforms,
Hmm.
right? When India shred that old mindsets, and we as a country moved ahead into the economic boom. This is something like that in the taxation regime. You cannot interpret, understand GST law from that old chashma, so to say. And that has complicated the things actually.
So
So
you're saying
because of that, there is a vacuum, I
So-
believe, for the youngsters, because they have this opportunity. They don't have that backlog of old regime. They don't know
They
what
just
the old regime
go.
was. Yes. So in fact, what I normally discuss with the professionals is that GST law this time is just like when you had the independence and the constitution was there. So you had a constituent assembly, then it was debated, etc. Then it was passed, and then the constitution came into the picture. So you have those debates of the constitution assembly,
Yeah.
right? And you can read and understand the constitutional law, and all fine constitutional law judgments are there in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yes.
By that time constitution settled,
Yes.
more or less,
Yes.
right? So first 40, 50 years there was all this dispute and it got settled. We are into the same thing in GST. We have a GST council. It is a constitutional authority, right? It debates on each and every decision which has to be taken. After that, it recommends, then it goes to the parliament or the state to pass, right? So you can read the GST councils, they publish their minutes, just like the constitutional assembly had their debates and all.
Correct.
So you can read the minutes to understand the GST law, which I feel certain old professionals don't do because they think it is a improved version of VAT only. So they already know. But no, sorry, that is not the case. In fact, I still remember in around 2017 when I was just leaving Deloitte now. So there was a team and a very senior person in Deloitte India. He used to say, "Now I envy all you young people. I envy you. Why? You and I stand on the same footing now.
Yeah.
I am about to retire and you are about to start your career, but now we are same. Why? Because I have also to start from zero. Yes. Obviously, his interpretation and understanding of so many years would help, but sometimes looking at things from a completely new narrative gives you a better understanding of law.
No hangover.
Yes.
Correct.
You don't have any preconceived notions that, oh, this thing was litigated at that time like this, so now also it should be litigated like this. We are fighting very unique cases in many high courts across India. We are fighting 1, 2, 3 very unique cases in Supreme Court, wherein well, I feel, although it's not right to comment on the case, but the department's stand is based on the earlier notions, which have been shredded away in GST regime, right? So for youngsters, I believe next 30, 40 years, though I don't see it just like reading the constitution. It is a new baby. It will grow, it will mature, new interpretations would come. You have council meetings, you have changes, you have so many things happening. So I don't think there is any dearth of opportunity.
And for anyone who's looking for this field, you would say, and I think you said that earlier, that having a accountancy background is almost a must.
Yes, if he is looking to
We
do
feel it.
departmental practice, then I will say it is must. If somebody is looking to do only High Court and Supreme Court practice, then might not be.
But
But
don't you think that the practice as a holistic practice would necessarily
it is.
involve a
Yes, so like
departmental
yes,
practice as well? You can't
you
avoid that.
avoid that, and
Unless you are a very big counsel, it's
yes,
very hard to avoid
yes,
that.
yes, especially for a first generation lawyer like me.
Yeah.
Like we don't have a legacy of 100-year-old clients that we only get high court cases. We get everything. We get a mix of everything till today. So except compliance, we do. So yes, an accountancy, a financial background gives you, a very very good push to understand the law better. Because ultimately it is all a business transaction which is being applied. Tax laws is what? It is on your day-to-day business, and
Correct.
that thing is coming out of your books of accounts, financials, and there is a way to prepare those financials. It is done in their own manner. You should know the double entry book system, etc., etc. What is debit, what is credit side. When you don't know what is debit, what is credit, then you don't understand where it is going in the monthly
Yeah.
return. Everything is connected.
Everything, yeah, I know. And you should know how to classify what kind of income and what kind of expense.
Right, so you unnecessarily complicate the things
Yeah.
if you don't know them.
Yeah, true.
I believe, if I'm not wrong, Albert Einstein once said that whatever you cannot explain easily, you don't understand yourself.
Yeah.
So it is simple like that. If you are going for a hearing, maybe in a high court, maybe at a departmental level, maybe at a tribunal level, if you are not able to explain it easily and in a flawless manner, somewhere down the line, it means you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
And the background of accounting or any of these specialized courses, CA, CS, CMA, anything, it helps you. It helps you because you know the back end also.
Yeah.
So if the officer or if the judge is asking certain queries, you can answer it then and there rather than taking a date, going back, taking instructions from the client and sitting in another maybe 3-4 conferences
Yeah.
to get the things done.
You'll be a more effective
Yes, it
practitioner.
becomes an effective hearing every time when you
Yeah.
have that background.
Yeah. Okay, I finished the main part. I think whatever I wanted to ask, it's almost become a therapy session. But the last part of the podcast, I do it for myself. It's like quicker answers. So it's not
I
really
should
like,
be worried.
no, not really like Coffee with Garak because he's probably like cornered the market on that. But it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So ask you 5 of something, 4 of something.
Okay.
Quicker answer.
Got it.
So
Got it.
5, because you're so good at managing time, clearly, 5 productivity tips.
Morning routine, that's a must. Like you have to have a morning routine, and like we here have a morning. Apart from reading in the morning, we have a morning session of half an hour with my team, wherein we discuss our day, who will do what, who is going in a hearing. So that kind of a thing. You have to have your own morning routine. Second, productivity tips. You have to have a good physical health. That is also part of it. Without it, I don't think in the long run you can have great productivity with not so good health. And it's not only about health. I mean, it's a general well-being thing. So physical fitness, I would say, then a morning routine, then having, like, I have a notes app in my phone. I write everything over there. So it helps me a lot that I don't forget the things over a period of time. So note it down. Earlier it used to be in diary. Now it can be on your WhatsApp chat, or it can be in the notes. So have a app wherein you can write the things and manage them well. 3, 4, I would say you need to understand how you read the case laws. Look, indirect tax is like we get daily updates from various platforms. So suppose I'm getting 10 case laws daily. So I need to understand which case law I have to read the entire one, which I can read only the head notes, etc. So that has to be done. That is a big productivity thing. You read the head notes, you understand whether you go down the line or not. So I think these are most important 4, 5 for me.
And this thing that you spoke about, getting a 10, 30-minute, all hands,
Sessions, yes,
all hands team,
must.
that also helps your team
It-
also be productive.
Yes,
Then
yes.
know what is
I
happening in the
yes,
company.
I did not have it initially, but now that I have it, I realize that things were haphazard earlier. So now they're very well managed, and it
So
helps
you
you.
had some consultant come and tell you, or you?
No. This is all tried and tested on our own experience and failed in some, and this one clicked. So I'm telling it to you today.
Like all of us meandering our way.
Yeah, right. That's it.
You had mentioned earlier when we were talking before we started rolling that you read this a lot of biographies of American entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So 4 books that you would recommend. Need not, it could be anyone who would read.
First, I would say the one which I read almost every week, and I've read it today morning also, 1 or 2 pages, the Bhagavad Gita. So it is a life management. You call it whatever. Doesn't matter which religion you are coming, you are atheist or not, or you are a spiritual person. I don't think it matters. So it keeps you, grounded also in some manner. It shows you the way also, and it keeps you fearless. To me, it's more like fearless, because I don't, after reading that, you get a sense of what worse can happen, like I told you.
Yeah.
End of the day, you do your karma, whatever happen will happen.
So
So
you read a commentary, or
I read sometimes the commentary, sometimes the real text, but I've read it multiple times. It's
so you
not
know
my
the
first
meaning
time.
also.
Yes, I know. it is just like our law book. Every time you read a Bharat, you get a new interpretation. Every time you read this kind of Bhagavad Gita, you will get a new interpretation of that very shlok.
Hmm.
So I would say first that. 2 long years ago, Mr. Once again, I'll say Arvind Dattar's lecture I was listening. I am a huge admirer. From the days I used to listen to him to the days I brief him in many matters, it has been
Lovely.
a wonderful experience for me. And I follow his advice. Whenever I get time on a flight or anywhere, I go through his page, and if he's given some recent lecture, I like to listen to it. And I like to follow also. So, Courtroom Genius on the life of Mr. Nani Palkhiwala. Third would be Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, right? The 10,000 hour rule helps a lot in your profession.
Yeah.
And then I would say there are many. In fact, then there is Atomic Habits. So you have to build a routine schedule. So why not build a part of it as a habit? And Psychology of Money. We need to know about money also. है ना?
That's a
So
good one.
yes. So I would say these 4 5.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. Okay, now 3 tips for young lawyers or law students.
Nothing can replace the good old style hard work. In our profession, that is what I believe. You need to have the command over the subject. So it comes from my belief. That's why I have a niche category. I believe you cannot be a journalist in this profession and then reach at the pinnacle. My philosophy is you have to have a hands down, you should know each and everything about one particular subject. So for me, read, hard work, interpretation, that is the most important thing. You should be good at that. I mean, personally, it has been now 8 years into GST. There is not a single reported case in a normal journal that I have not read. So if I am traveling, I come back maybe 2 days down the line, I save all those mails, then I read them, then only I undo and unstar them. So I have read about thousands of judgments, head notes or the full ones, that has to be decided. So hard work, and there are no shortcuts in this profession, right? And the gestation period is there. So I believe you cannot skip it, especially if you are a first generational lawyer. So you have to live it through that. And lastly, I think be humble and do some pro bono cases also to the extent possible. So it gives you a different flavor of things.
So saying work hard, be patient, and
Yes,
give back.
yes, yes,
Be service oriented.
yes. Be service oriented. We are here to this profession is such a wonderful profession that it gives you so many things. So you have to do that service part, right?
2 life lessons that you have learned in your life so far.
Oh, I've learned so many of them. It's hard to
Hard to
compare
pick 2?
to.
Yeah.
Once again, where I started, have a survivor attitude and come out of your comfort zone. You have to do it. Without it, you will not get anything. So that's a lesson for me. Whenever I go, although I don't go into my comfort zone, but whenever some days are there when you go, then I realize that things are not.
How do you realize? How do you realize
I
that, comfort zone is what you are like chilling, right? Like, how do you
I remember I'll take 2 minutes now. Sorry. I was listening to some seminar or somewhere, wherein I think Mr. Harsha Bhogle, the great commentator, was speaking about Mr. Sachin Tendulkar. So he said that somebody asked Mr. Sachin Tendulkar, why are you practicing so many hours every day or something like that? So I think he said that when I am playing, everybody else knows that I have played good, but only I know whether I have played great or not. So whenever he's not doing that practice session of that many hours for any reason, there is a change in his betting which he knows internally. Nobody else knows. Outside world does not know that something has changed. They think that okay, he's betting the same. But he said internally I know there is a thing. So just like that, internally when you go into a comfort zone, now you know somewhere. And I believe when you start a routine, build a habit of daily reading, then daily meetings and everything. So even if you don't do it for 2 days, you feel it from inside that you're getting into, you feel like you're getting into a comfort zone. Actually, it's not a comfort zone, but that is there. So that is a life lesson. Never get into a comfort
So
zone.
basically, there all these, laziness,
Hmm.
kind of, I don't want to try new things, certain
You have to avoid it.
resistance,
Yes.
all that comes, and they can be clues for you that you're.
Yes. Yes.
And what's the second one?
Nobody is going to come out and help you. You have to help yourself.
Yeah, that
As simple, and the world is brutal, and you have to be more brutal.
I don't know about that, but I know that you back yourself.
Yes,
Was
no one is coming.
no one. Like, it
Once-
has nothing to do with your gender, nothing to do with
Nothing.
your circumstances. Whoever you are,
Yes,
from prince to pauper, it's you for you.
it's you for you. Totally agree. And once you reach somewhere, then people might say that, okay, we knew that you will do something. That's a different story. But believe me, initially, no one is going to come. And the people who say that you can count on us, sometimes you cannot count on them.
Yeah.
So
That is another life.
that is another life lesson.
Yeah.
There are so many. That's what I said.
Okay, finally, the best piece of advice that you have ever received.
Again, I'll end with Mr. Datar because I've briefed him in so many matters, and I've.
You should send him
Yeah.
this podcast and tell him for the next one now.
He's a very busy person. So he didn't give it to me in person, but I again attended or heard his lecture. So he told, be known, young man. And he also read it somewhere, or his senior told him. Positively, if possible, but be known. So that is the best advice. So for a young professional, you have to be known in the market. I don't know how you will do it, but you have to do it positively if possible, in a good manner, even if negatively sometimes. Oh, so not negative in that sense of
Yeah.
the word, but the thing is you have to blow your own trumpet. As simple as that. So that is what I believe is the best advice.
Yeah, lovely. Do you have any last words to share with our audience?
I think this profession is wonderful,
Yeah.
right? And there is actually sky is the limit. That is what
Yes.
I feel. If you do sincere hard work on a daily basis, which is boring, but that is the only way. So keep doing it. Whoever is listening in a small city, maybe one day I was also listening to somebody in a small city, and I used to think that I'll go there. Today, when I sit here with you, so I think now I believe, even then I believe, now I know it can be done. So just keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no like the only limits that you put are the limits that you
Yours.
put on yourself,
Yes,
right?
yes, so true.
But I had a wonderful time talking to you. I hope you had a good time.
Same, likewise.
And thank you so much. This is the first time we've had questions on the podcast which are not entirely, law and law related journey, but also very practical and certain tactical in terms of, how to run a practice and so on. So I'm very grateful to you for being candid about everything.
Thank you. It
And
has
I
been
wish you all the best.
wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
And I look forward to having many more.
Yeah, you must.
Uh,
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
To our audience, and keep following us, and send us requests for your any requests that you have for guests, because we consider all your requests carefully. See you.